very much, Dr. Srinath. Thank you very much for this very lovely introduction. Sometimes when you hear about yourself, you kind of feel, have I done all this before? Anyway, I see about 56 people are attending right now, and I think more can come on the way. I have my eyes open to the chat box, so I request everybody to use the chat box wisely before I start the presentation. This is going to be a very informal session. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm learning every day. So I want you guys to be very alert, ask as many questions as possible. I'm going to make it as exciting as possible, but I also want you to respond because this is a conversation about the power of personal branding, which is basically about a story about yourself, right? So if you want to showcase yourself, we'll have to be very active in this session. So with 58 people, I'm expecting this chat box to be very, very active. Without further ado, I think I will start presenting right now.
I'm sorry for the interruption, Anjali. Can we have mixture of language? English would be better.
Yeah, okay, ठीक है. Um, okay, तो अभी हम ओके तो हम अभी द पावर ऑफ पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग पे बात करेंगे. तो अगर मैं अभी क्योंकि फुल स्क्रीन हूँ, मैं अभी किसी को भी नहीं देख पा रही हूँ, तो अगर किसी को भी बात करनी है तो प्लीज़ अपना माइक्रोफोन ऑफ करें और फिर कृपया बात करें. तो अभी हम बात करेंगे about the power of
Just a minute. Sorry, Anjali. Somebody is saying that you may continue in English. So, is everybody comfortable in English?
Okay, I
If
can't
yes,
see the messages if I have my screen on.
no,
Sorry.
no, I'm seeing the messages. Yeah. So, Naveen Soni says it's far better to understand. Okay, then we'll continue in English. You can continue in English, Anjali. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
okay, so I will continue in English, and if somebody doesn't understand something, they can interrupt me and I can explain it in Hindi if that suits everybody. Does that work? And I hope that works. And also, if any of the students, because this is mostly for the students, I'm very much junior for most of the faculty here. So I think this is designated for the students mostly. So I would request the students to kind of interrupt me and say if they don't understand anything and kind of make this in Hindi, right? So anyway, we'll start the presentation now. I won't be able to see your chatbot at the moment, but because I'm doing this full screen. So please interrupt me via voice if I have to see your chat box. I'll go back to your chat box when I'll go back to it on and forth. So we'll be talking about the power of personal branding, and I like to call this as your own story. Every day we are living a story, and I think the power of story is very, very underplayed, right? We watch movies, we look at the climax, and we always think stories are short duration and they're very exciting and adventurous. What I like to believe is every opportunity is an unfolded story. So all of you are living stories. So after watching this presentation, I want you to realize the power of storytelling, and I want you to start playing your stories now, because all of us have achieved very little. We have a lot to achieve in the future. What we have to do is untap the potential that lies within us. So with this, I would like to start with this slide. Now, this is a photograph of me, and this is what I do about 10% of my time, which is I shoot other people, because like I told you, I believe in the power of stories. So I'm always wearing a lens. It could be sunglasses, it could be the power of perception, it could be my camera lens, right? So I always look at everything in terms of understanding something or absorbing something. So from today, if you don't take anything home, I want you to take one message, that just try to be like a sponge. From today on, when you look at anything, find inspiration and try to take it all in, like a sponge absorbs water, right? You have to look at everything with the power of a story. You have to look at everything as a source of inspiration. So try to adapt one lens, and that is the lens of perception, right? So with this, I would like to start talking about the power of personal branding. Now, before we start, I would like to move on to a very simple 2-minute exercise, right? And I will minimize the window and we'll go to the chat bot shortly. I want all the students, about 60 of you, to remember a teacher in your life. For others who've had a job for a short duration, I would say, can you please remember somebody at work, right? Now, this person is definitely somebody you look up to. It has to be someone you respect or someone you think of, like, I want to become like this person when I grow up. Or, in the future, I want to become at least half of what this person is, or 10% of what this person is. Now, you have to admire this person a lot. Um, so before we continue, I want you to, okay, that was not really ideal. I didn't want you to see that part. But I want you to start telling me, take 2 minutes, think of your favorite person. It could be a teacher, it could be a faculty member who's not a teacher, but some sort of uh, an associate faculty who you do labs with or demonstrates. It could be anybody in your life, your parents, your siblings. It could be a colleague that you look up to. But I would like you to not involve any personal involvement in it. It couldn't be an adaptation from your personal life. I want you to consider your professional life or your student life and pick up an inspiration. Think about them for 2 minutes. And I want you to write the favorite quality you have of this person on the chatbot. Just one favorite quality you like about this person, right? Because we're going to come to a point. So I want you all to take 2 minutes and quickly, say in about 1 minute's time, write down the favorite quality of that person on the chatbot. That's a great answer. Empathetic and always remembered from where they came from. So the roots, they always remember their roots and they're very empathetic towards you. Now, for those of you who don't understand empathy, it's a very subtle difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Sympathy is when you feel bad for somebody or you understand their situation and you only agree with them because you feel bad for them. Empathy is you've probably been in that situation or you consider yourself in that situation. So you put yourself in their shoes, and this is a much bigger feeling compared to sympathy. So yes, it's a great quality to consider. Um, this is fantastic equality, where you consider all your students to be the same and you think of them as when they were your students. Fantastic. I want you to think about one quality somebody has that you admire professionally, and what is that quality? Discipline. This is very good answers. Punctuality and simplicity, consistency, versatility, kindness, management skills. Fantastic. Great engagement, guys. Keep going. We'll go for another 2 or 3 qualities. Good orator, yes, very important. Helpful in nature, yes. Okay, so I think we'll call it. We'll stop at this point. So now I would transparent communicator. Excellent, yes. So we'll stop at being interactive with everyone. Um, And so we look at all the qualities you said, right? Discipline, punctuality, simplicity, consistency, versatility, kindness, management, good orator skills, being very helpful, being very clear, concise, lucid, interactive, transparent, punctual, disciplined. And in the end, Anurekha ji always ends it up beautifully, always ready to learn, right? So she's this is an excellent quality. And with all these qualities, I want you to remember one thing. When you looked up this person, when you thought of this person, did you think of one immense quality that led to all these qualities? Whether all these qualities come from the fact that they were speaking to you, they were interacting with you, they have written to you, they have you have seen them talk somewhere, they have engaged with you in some sort of a way or other, right? It has always been because of this. So now I want to go back to this, and I'm sorry about this switching bit. It was supposed to be very powerful when this part came. So no matter what job you have in your life, right, your success will be determined 5% by your academic credentials. So for all of you who have PhDs and postdocs, great work. But the way people remember you is not because you you have all these great credentials. It is not because you have great professional experiences. It's great on a CV and it's fantastic for you personally. But 80% of what you do is determined by your communication skills. So for all you guys who said helpful, kind, persistent communication, transparency, and all of this somewhere leads to the power of communication. How that person represented themselves to you. That person is probably not in this room right now. You've not taken their name, but you remember their quality because that is what you associate with this person. And this is, my dear friends, the power of personal branding. This quality people remember you for when you're not in the room, right? So the most important tool that creates your picture to everybody else, that makes your story for everybody, is the power of communication. So anywhere you communicate, written, verbal, through body language, any place that you're communicating, always make sure that somebody is going to take something from this communication, this mode of communication, and remember you for this. So what happens? I'm going to keep telling you a lot of stories, right? So most of you don't get bored, and also because I like stories. So who are you in this room? I don't know how many people know Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the guy who owns Amazon. He always says your brand is defined by what people speak about you when you're not in the room. So this is exactly the exercise you all did. You spoke about your favorite person when they were in the room or may not be in the room, but you spoke of them very fondly when you remembered them, right? And what happens is sometimes the strongest or the most powerful people, they could be in the middle of the room and no one acknowledges them. So for example, Tim Hunt is the guy who got the Nobel Prize in the early 2000s, and he got the Nobel Prize for talking about cell division in medicine, and he shared the Nobel Prize with three other people. He was having a bad day when people interviewed him, and it was a massive media coverage where he said he doesn't like girl students in his lab because they distract the boy students. And then it started a massive Twitter war because of this lack of communication, where the whole feminism came up, where the idea of distraction from female students, a lot of female scientists stood up for him. There was a lot of photobombing, and many months later he stopped getting all the sources of funding that he was getting before. So a Nobel Prize winner was cut off from most of his funding. He was bone dry in the end of the day. So it's just one small mistake. He had a bad day, he communicated wrongly. So anything you do with communication can give you a very strong ending, or also can take you from riches to rags in no time, right? So what I want to tell you is, you could be the elephant in the room, you could be the HOD, you could be the dean, you could be the principal. No one is forgiven from wrong communication. Sometimes you could be in the middle of the room and you see people don't acknowledge certain people. This is because they are not respected for who these people are. But it's not too late. You can always change the way you're represented in the world, right? You can always change and make yourself better every day. And this is something we will learn today. When we talk about communication, which is our most important tool, there is a lot of ways in which one can communicate. So this presentation is mainly focused on the student group, right? So we will talk about networking. So you all are going to go into conferences, you're going to go into social events, like with different competitions, national level, state level. You could be taking part in little competitions within your college. You could be associated with webinars like this, and you could give fantastic answers and I could remember your name, right? So that's one sort of networking. The second kind of communication is written communication, which happens via email or text messaging. Third kind of communication professionally is social media. So I don't have other social media icons here. I only take LinkedIn as a professional source of communication. We'll talk about that. And nextly is your credential. Your personal credential is your CV and cover letter. No matter what you've done in the last 20 years, it boils down to those 2 pages if you want to get a job, right? And those 2 pages, every word matters. So I'm going to talk a little about how to frame your words wisely. Then we'll talk about professional presentation. You all are going to network beautifully, write great emails, go on LinkedIn, write fabulous CVs and cover letters, and end up in an interview. So what do you do when you go to an interview? What happens? How is your dressing, your speech, your presentation affect your interview process? And eventually when you get that job, when you get your company, when you are an entrepreneur, you set up something, right? What are the soft skills that keep you successful, that keep you at the ball, that kind of keep you going and keeps you consistent? So we'll talk about all this. We'll talk about it as a journey from the start to finish and various elements of it. I'm going to go back and see if everybody is okay on the chat bot. um, we'll keep going, yeah, so you don't, yeah, perfect. Are you liking the presentation so far? Do you want me to explain anything? Does anybody have any doubts? Do
Carry
you
on,
want me to
Anjali. Anjali, you are very clear in your approach. So I think so. The questions will come up at the end because everything is very, very clear. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Sunab. So we'll keep going then. So we'll start with the power of communication, that is networking. So the most important thing when I was doing my engineering was I went to a lot of conferences, mainly because there was free food and the prize money was in cash, right? I'm going to be very honest. But the soft skills, the networking skills that I developed from there is what took me abroad, which gave me the President Award, which later gave me a lot of laurels. And you've heard a lot about it. But we're also going to talk about failures, because failures are very, very important. And when you network, always be ready to fail, because when you approach something, there's always going to be a 50% chance of success and a 50% chance of failure. So don't think that anytime you're going to network with someone, it's going to work well, right? You have to always remember the power of failure. Only when you fail 3 or 4 times will one person respond to you successfully. So when you hear about all these success stories, remember that it took us 10 years to finish this kind of education, and in those 10 years we've probably failed for about 9 years, and only 300 days have been beautiful. I mean, the rest of them have been very, very painful in terms of, experiences. uh, in terms of networking, we are in an incubator center today, and I don't know how clear this picture is, but I'll give you the presentation in the end. The art of networking is very, very beautiful, and it is very important as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to talk as an entrepreneur. I'm going to talk about when students want to get jobs as well, and I'm going to talk about different elements of this. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you're in a networking event and the art of networking if you were an entrepreneur, right? So what happens is, why do we have to go face to face? We have to be very confident. You have to get into the door with a smile. When you walk in, people should, even if they notice you, they should say something positive about you. When you enter a room, always gauge the audience. If you're going into a conference room where you know certain important people to you, certain important people who are important to you are coming in, always make a little researched notebook about them. Write down what you like about them, how would you like to interact with them, what is it that you want to collaborate with them for. You always have to dress very powerfully. Different people like different power modes when they go into events, right? For me, what works is I do the power pose from the yoga in the bathroom before I enter any place, right? Just before 10 seconds of entering any place, I go to the washroom and I do the power yoga pose, because it gives me that elevation, it gives me that height to stay calm. And anytime I enter, I always say the Hanuman Chalisa, because it keeps me calm. Anything that works for you, you could say, I don't know, you could sing Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna if that works for you. Whatever works for you, keep that going. Keep one motivational game for you that switches you on before you enter the room. That is important, right? You always have to dress up really well. And in the end, if you're entering a room of 30, make sure you've picked up at least 3 people you think will be your connections. And always remember, the power of getting is equally directly proportional to the power of giving. So don't think that in a networking event you're only supposed to suck knowledge from other people. You're also supposed to be able to give what you have to other people. You're supposed to tell people what your resources are, what your A game is, what are you qualified to do, and what you can bring to the table when you're collaborating, right? And people think this is it. When you network, people think, yes, now I've had a beautiful networking event, I've got umpteen number of connections, I've given enough, I've gotten enough, so what happens after that? what happens after that is much more important than what happens during the event. So you have to remember to stay connected. You have to remember to send thank you emails. You have to remember to make short, sweet, concise emails. You have to be able to deliver what you said. You have to be able to give short collaborative emails saying, I connected with you in such and such event. We talked about this collaboration. These are my pointers for that collaboration. Thank you for connecting with me. Let's move forward. Always try to keep in touch. If somebody doesn't respond to you, give them a week and get back to them. Always don't annoy them. So if somebody doesn't want to keep in touch with you, so after 3 times, always give the n is equal to 3 mantra. If somebody doesn't connect with you the first time, leave a week and then connect with them. If they don't connect with you after that, try one last time. If they don't connect with you 3 times, don't be annoying. Let it go, because your time is also precious as much as another person's time, right? So this is the power of networking when we go to social conferences and all of that. But before all of this, I also want to say that you have to be very, very confident and positive when you enter a room. So you could be entering for a conference, you could be entering for a social event, you could not be an entrepreneur, you could just be a student. So let me tell you another story. So when I was doing my PhD, right, I went into this conference, this PhD conference, which was for 4 days in cancer biology. And when I went into the room, I saw when you finish conferences, you go into the goodie section, what I call the goodie bag section, where a lot of medical representatives come and they sell their goods. So we get a lot of goods for cheaper rates. We get all our enzymes and our buffers and stuff at cheaper rates. So we negotiate with them. And sometimes just to please you, they give you a chocolate box or they give you a free t-shirt or whatever. So we are excited about this part of the conference. So I went into the conference and I was talking to this lady, and she was so smart. She has a PhD, and she was so smart and so good at what she was doing. So I just went up to her. I spoke to her the first day, and I touched base with her. I talked to her about her products, etc. On the second day, I wanted to become like her, right? Because I was very inspired, because that's the power of the story. I watched her from far. I watched how she interacts with people. I watched how much she loves her job, which is very, very important, how passionate she is when she's doing what she's doing. And then I went up to her the second day. I thoroughly researched her on LinkedIn. And she said, "You're back again for a t-shirt, are you?" I smiled. And I said, of course I'm back for a t-shirt, because more the merrier. But I'm also here because I wanted to know what made you, why are you here? What led you to come here? And she said, nobody's asked me this question. Nobody's asked me my story. So she told me how she got her PhD, bloody blah, and how she was led into coming here, and how she is the leader of a company, and she's leading the sales team and the marketing team. And she told me her journey. In the end, I said, I want to become like you. Is there anything I can take back from here? That was a bold move. Somebody could get annoyed with it and said, there's nothing I can give you. But she was very, very nice. I succeeded there. So she said, can you give me your CV? And when you finish your PhD, I would like to talk to you. And I went in the third day. The conference was 4 days long. I went in the third day. Now she gave me 3 t-shirts, a couple of enzyme vials for free, because now she knows me, right? And this is the power of networking. She also asked for my CV, and 2 years passed by. I completed my PhD. And then I wrote an email to her saying, do you remember me? And she said, yes, you were the annoying person who took a lot of my t-shirts, but I also remember you because you were bold enough to ask me my story. And then I said, do you remember you have my CV, and this is my latest CV, so can we touch base? She organized an interview for me in her company, and I was immediately given, after multiple interviews, I was obviously offered the job of head of sales for the company straight away, right after my PhD. Similarly, I got a couple of other offers, and then eventually I took the offer in Sanofi. But I want to tell you that it is the simple art of networking that led me to that job. And this is my personal story. So I've been there, I've seen it, and I've lived it, right? So I want you to know that the power of networking is massive. So when you get into a room, whatever kind of event it is, make sure you're noticed. Make sure that you smile. Make sure that you always listen to people, and make sure that you're very, very confident about who you are as a person, and what your roots are, what your background is. Nextly, we're talking about the written form of communication, which is the emails. This is very much for the students, but it's also to some of the faculty here, because when I used to receive emails from my professors, I used to be very, very annoyed, because some people take you for granted about how emails are written. Some people think that emails are supposed to be rude or adamant or, very delegation based. They're supposed to tell you what to do. No, this is not what emails are for. If you're kind and humble, even in your emails, even in the tonality of the email is very, very important. Believe me, when you sense the tone of the email to be very positive, you want to do something for this person. If somebody tells you, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, nobody wants to respond to such kind of emails, even in terms of work, right? You don't want to work for this person. So when you write an email, even if you're a student, even if you're a faculty, even, I don't know, you could be in the highest position ever, it doesn't matter where you are. It is always a great start to be kind, to be humble, and to be correct more than everything. So always start with the formal greeting. Be very concise and clear. Always use your words wisely. Speak very little, but speak in a way that makes an impact. Use your connections when you write a professional email. If you've connected them with them before, you can always talk about it. Always spell check your emails. I would like to talk to you about a tool called Grammarly, which is free access, so you can note it down. It's called Grammarly, and you can attach Grammarly to your browser. You can attach Grammarly to your Word document, and it'll spell check for you. It'll do the grammatic check for you. You can always test a message by sending it to yourself first to see how it reads in case it's a long email. And then you can always include your personal signature, giving your designation. Even if you're a student, it's always nice to see your student be proud of themselves that they're the students of Kurukshetra University. They're studying biotechnology, for example, and they are in their first year of, studying. And always send a copy to yourself. Always send a BCC to yourself. So if there is any error, including the recipient, you see that error for yourself. So if somebody bullshits to you and says, sorry for my language, but if somebody says to you, I didn't receive that email, you already have a blind carbon copy, the BCC copy. So you know they're lying outright because you have a personal copy for yourself. You got the email yourself, so you know if they're lying. If there is an error, you know for yourself that there was some issue when you sent that email. So it's always, you believe yourself the most, right? So it's always important to send that blind carbon copy to yourself. So this is the beauty of written communication in short. We can talk in depth about this, but I want to keep all sorts of communication very, very brief because of time restrictions, right? Next, the most powerful tool today, in my eyes, is LinkedIn. The job I have right now, I got it through LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is very, very important, especially in times like these where you're sitting at home, you cannot meet people, they cannot see you, they cannot realize how charming you are, how amazing you are, what your professional achievements are, because nobody has the time to see your CV. Nobody wants to spend that 10 seconds on you because there are so many people who are fired from their jobs. They are going to get talent everywhere. So what is it that sets you apart from another 20 people who have the same qualifications as you, another 200 people who have the same qualifications as you? So people use social networks for different things. You can spend time or you can invest your time, right? And these are two different analogies. And I want you to focus very, very hard on these things. So spending your time is where you have a casual mindset. You want to just chill and socialize. You want to stay in touch with the people. That's what you have Facebook and Instagram and Medium and stuff like that. You want to be entertained. You're basically killing your time. It's a source of procrastination. If you want to invest your time, then that becomes a purposeful mindset, right? You want to be very purposeful. You want to have an end goal to your time invested. These people, this set of people who are using their time for investment, especially in resources like LinkedIn, they want to maintain a professional identity. They want to make useful contacts and look for opportunities. Every connection is an opportunity. Once you connect with people, you have to remember to stay in touch. So you will have to decide. LinkedIn is on the blue box. It's where you invest your time. If you want to chill for a bit, use Facebook or Instagram or other networks. please do not use LinkedIn for spending your time casually, because once people don't take you seriously, it's going to be very hard to get back a serious image about yourself. Don't use LinkedIn for telling people they look amazing. Don't use LinkedIn for flirting with people or telling hi, how are you messages or becoming friends with them, because it's a professional platform. So use it wisely. And when this lockdown started, me with four other friends started this small company called Bright Pointers. So when I'm talking to you about entrepreneurship, I know a little bit of the pain involved in it, because I have a small company which we run along with four of my dear friends called Bright Pointers, and we help people create beautiful profiles for themselves, be it LinkedIn, be it their CVs, be it their cover letters, and we can help you with this at any point in the future. But we have a lot of free resources, so I'm going to give some free resources to you, and you don't have to take down notes from this, because I'm going to share this presentation with you. So I wanted to just sit back, relax, enjoy the presentation, and learn as much from it as possible. So when you have your LinkedIn profile, it's very important to have some key notes. Firstly, the picture. Don't use a picture which is a selfie, or where you're wearing a sari and flaunting your curves. No, that's not a picture that goes up there. A picture has to be very professional. 2/3 of your body has to be taken with a beautiful smile and a very positive demeanor. The headline about you has to be like your selling point. Like, why would we be attracted to your profile? Do you sell to make a living? Do you market to make a living? Are you a scientist? Do you have some key deliverables? Talk about it on your headline. Talk about your skills. We have only a 50 skill limit on LinkedIn. When you have limitations, you have to use your skills wisely. Skills are where the keyword search works. Skills are what sets the recruiters to come and find you. So make sure your skills are exactly what you have, exactly the kind of dream job you want fits into that bar. Always keep the recruiter tab and career advice section open. Always do a LinkedIn detox once in a while. Remove connections who are not useful to you, because this is not a personal network. It's not your friends who will feel bad, right? It's strangers. It's people you've connected for purpose. So if you feel like they don't serve the purpose, you've outgrown them, then remove them. It's okay. Always make your summary like your passport. It has to be short, it has to be crisp, and it has to leave a mystery behind. It has to be like that story whose ending you're waiting to know. Your work experience has to not be a big grunt. It doesn't have to be like the Mahabharata talking about this person, that person, where you worked, what you did. No. Talk about your work experience also in an interesting fashion. Always give metrics, because numbers speak louder than words. So if you say you improve 10% of the revenue, it always sounds better than I was a project manager for 5 years, right? It So what did you do being the project manager for 5 years? If I brought money in the company, if I increased the company's investments by 10%, then that makes sense. Then that means, yes, you're important. You'll make good to my projects. When you do projects as students, I know you won't have work experience. So always talk about your projects very fondly. Talk about skills you learned from your projects. And always remember that there is something called transferable skills, right? Transferable skills is something you attain along the way that you don't pay attention to. Your resilience, your calmness, your kindness, your ability to learn, your humility, your ability to perform under pressure, your ability to work as a team. These are skills you build in the project, but you don't really think about them. These are skills that can actually be able to fit you in any job if you work on them beautifully. So make sure you also talk about your key transferable skills when you talk about your projects. Always, you have your professors, you have your lovely set of colleagues. Do not shy away from asking recommendations from them, because if you after today have represented yourself really really well, people are going to like you for at least one quality of yours. And when people are going to like you, they're not going to hesitate to recommend you. And the recommendations doesn't have to be from people who know you. Sometimes you build strong, very strong relationships with LinkedIn connections. You do not have met them, but you can talk to them, and those connections can be very powerful. And these connections can also end up writing recommendations for you. Nextly, we will go into the resume section. I want to pause and see if there's something else going on there. Okay. So, do you guys, are you guys okay with the LinkedIn? Can we move to resume? You can just press OK and I'll go. Perfect. Okay, at least some of you are awake. That's a good thing. Okay, let's go back to the resume section. So in the resume section, there's a resume checklist, right? Your resume section for me is like your Instagram handle. I'm going to talk a little bit like a millennial. A, because I am one. B, because that's how students will connect to me. So please pardon me for the language, but when you go on a social media platform like Instagram, your Instagram handle is what defines you, and about yourself is what attracts you to that profile, whether you want to follow this person or not follow this person. Your resume checklist is exactly like that in a professional fashion. Your resume checklist for the older guys is like that bio data you used to have before for shadi. You want to see the photo and you want to decide whether you want to get married to the girl or the guy, right? I know this is a really bad example, but your resume checklist is initially the first 2 pages and the only 2 pages which your whole life is summarized into. So you have to make sure that every word here counts. When we talk about words, I want to talk about another very funny story that one of my friends had told me. So, so Jack and Jim, right? They both are Christians. They go to the church for service. So the priest is in the service, obviously, and Jack and Jim reach earlier. So now this is in the 1950s where smoking was very, very normal. So now Jack wants to smoke. So he says to Jim, I want to smoke during the mass session. And he says, ask the priest. Jim says, why don't you ask the priest? So Jack tells the priest, can I smoke during prayer? Okay. And the priest says, of course not. You're not allowed to smoke during prayer. What is wrong with you? So then the priest leaves, and there is the next Sunday mass session, and there is another priest this time. It's not the old priest who's there, because I don't know, he must have gone for a break or something. And now Jim says, do you want to smoke today? And Jack says, we've asked last time, it doesn't work. And Jim says, use your language wisely. So now Jim goes up to the priest and says, can I pray when I smoke? And then the priest says, of course, that's a very good thing to do, my child. You should always pray. So it's the same words, it's the fashion in which you framed your words, right? And this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of resume. Frame your words wisely. You could be saying the same thing, but a little bit of movement of words can make a massive difference in how people perceive about you. Because people are not going to meet you before this, people are not going to check your photograph before this, and nobody cares about how you look in your resume. People care about what you bring to the table in terms of skills. So always, these days, there is something called the ATS, which is the applicant tracking system. Okay, that was somebody's microphone, I guess. So we have something called the applicant tracking system that started about a few years ago, where people don't even check resumes anymore, right? It's an artificial intelligence system that checks your resume. So the artificial intelligence system only looks for keywords. It only looks for metrics like mathematical number representation of how good you are. It looks for important searches as to what skills you bring and how it matches with the requirements of the job. And once you get a score from the ATS of a certain score, you will be ranked accordingly, and the recruiter will get those scores. So he will obviously go for the resume that scored 100 or a 90 plus. And you could be better than the person, you could have a score of 30 and you could be better than the person who scored 100, but the only good thing the person with a score of 100 did was wrote a great resume, wherein you had the skills but you may not have written a good resume. So this is the resume checklist. I'm not going to get deep into this because it's a whole new session. You always have to remember that if you're a student, do not have a resume of more than 2 pages, and it holds the same for anybody. Even if you have 20 years of experiences, your resume can be cut short into 2 pages. If you're a student, I would even recommend to have a very, very creative 1 page resume that speaks a lot about yourself but is cut short to 1 page, because people are interested in seeing how the hell did you put all your student life into 1 page. It's very interesting. It should include a basic info, a summary section, a skills and achievement section, say for instance, a professional experience section or project section for students, your education, and your additional info. There are a lot of don'ts, and focus on the don'ts. We will send this across because I think we are already running out of time. So I'll kind of run through this later if you want me to talk about it, or we can have a completely different session in person for this. The next section is talking about professional presentation, is how you dress, how you speak, how you present yourself. And when I talk about how you dress, how you speak, it's not that you need to wear like a Dolce and Gabbana suit or you need to carry a Gucci bag or something. That doesn't speak anything about how you dress up. Make sure you dress up decently. For the men, you're not dressed loud. You don't have earrings, or you don't have very loud elements about you. For women, because there's nothing wrong with being loud. The only problem is people are going to concentrate on your loud elements and not concentrate on your profile. You want people to concentrate on your profile. So keep it dim, keep it happy, keep it simple, and impress with the way you dress. Always dress professional. For the girls, no no show off any assets. Always have a very good body demeanor, a great body language, sit straight, smile a lot, and if you don't know an answer, honesty is always the best policy. Always say, I do not know, but I think something could be the answer. And that will take you much further than I know, showing off and then failing. Um, when you are going for an interview, I think always research the company. There are certain questions which are very obvious, which is tell me about yourself, what are your 5-year plans, and all of these questions which are very, very easy to find on Google. Practice those answers. Talk about yourself to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror. Stand in your room. Do whatever you like, but practice those answers. Get ready ahead of time. Be on time means be there 10 minutes early, be there 15 minutes early. Include traffic time, include getting late. Always try to stay calm. Try to remember what works for you. Like I said, singing a song might work for you, singing a stotra might work for you, doing a power pose might work for you. And when you finish the interview, no matter how good or bad it was, not many people know this, but always follow up with people after the interview. Thank them for their time. Thank them for giving you their time and telling you about their company. You may not get the job, but people will remember how polite you were and the fact that you followed up, because out of 2000 applications, only 10 of them write a cover letter and only 1 or 2 of them follow up after an interview. So always remember, very small things actually make the most impressive impacts. And finally, I would like to talk about soft skills, and I would like to talk to you about all these skills bound into my very beautiful story about Shrikant Bola, who is a blind CEO who built a 50 crore company, right? He's a disabled person, he cannot see, and I don't like to call him disabled. I don't like to call anybody disabled. I think he has a special ability of blindness. What happened was he was born blind in 1992, and he finished his education till the 10th standard. He wanted to pursue science, so obviously the Indian authority said, what are you going to do in science being blind? So he took 6 months. He wrote very powerful letters. He spoke to lawyers. His dad is a farmer, but he still convinced people to fight a case for him. And then the Indian government let him do his plus 10 and plus 1 and plus 2. So he completed his 12th standard. Now he scored really, really well and he applied to IIT. IIT rejected him because he was blind. Now this man did not stop. He couldn't see half the world, but he could see the positivity that was remaining in the world. He decided to sit down, write about himself. He decided to communicate very, very well. He wrote a kick-ass resume. He wrote great cover letters to MIT and Yale and Harvard. And he got into MIT for his undergraduation. He completed his engineering with flying colors. He got a lot of corporate job offers. But this young man decided to come back to India so that this story doesn't repeat in India with somebody else, so they don't have to go that far to prove themselves. He started a company in India, and now he is working with a lot of people like himself with special abilities, and he's given jobs to over 70,000 people. And he's very, very young, very impressive, and he also was working in the team with Abdul Kalam for the Future Leaders, and he was one of those people who was working for India Leaders. And it's stories like this that make you believe in the power of communication. Communication is key to anything, but you also have to self-motivate yourself. Every time you fail, remember tomorrow is another day. Remember that everybody has a leader amongst themselves. when you are given responsibility, do not shy away from taking responsibility. Always work in a team. Do not shout to talk to people, tell people everything you know. Because when you're saying something, what you know, right, there's nothing you're learning. If you listen to people, you're learning something new every day. Always think about solving problems. Always keep that mind gap open. And sometimes problem solving is a very enjoyable skill. Always be very, very decisive. Be very correct on your decisions. These decisions can be wrong or right. Think about them for a while, but take them. Do not shy away from taking decisions. Always give importance to working under pressure, managing your time wisely, and be very flexible because people are different. uh, People are good, only situations are bad. So give people that flexibility. Always negotiate for money, for time, and for people. Always negotiate. And always remember conflicts can be resolved. So these are the bundle of soft skills that you should always have within yourself. You all have them, but remember to put them somewhere in your CV so people know you're a beautiful person. Finally, I think I'm a little bit ahead of time, but I want to thank Dr. Anurika Sharma ji for this beautiful opportunity. She's one of the most beautiful people I've met in Ireland, inside and out, and her personal journey is just so inspiring. So I hope one of you had thought of her before you said those qualities, because I mean she's an inspiration to a generation. Dr. Srinath Matapati, I have not spoken a lot to him, but he was very, very sweet in having a mock calls and setting up this lovely presentation for all you guys. I would like to thank the Kurukshetra University Technology Incubation Center for giving me this opportunity to give my 2 rupees to all of you, and hopefully it makes some sense to all of you. And I would like to thank every participant of this webinar for their time, because I mean, time for me is very, very important. So thank you all for sharing your time with me. Thank you once again.
So do we open the session, Anjali, for queries?
Yeah.
For interaction?
Please. Yes, go for it.
So
I would like to request one thing. Whoever's asking me the question, can you have your video on? Because, I mean, we're talking about the power of communication, so you might as well show yourself off.
So, yeah, can you come out of the presentation mode, Anjali?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Have I stopped? Because I have here.
Not yet. Not yet, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's... So the session is open for questions, and whosoever wants to ask a question, one by one, please raise your hands and switch on your video, and then you may ask the question. If you
can probably write me on the chat box, so
yeah,
you the opportunity first.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to ask a question, we'll take the queries one by one. So please, if you have any query, you please type it in the chat box. I don't know, today they are very quiet. Otherwise, the students are not like that. They have a lot of queries whenever we have conducted a webinar.
Either I was very, very clear, or I was very, very boring. I don't know.
No, you were very, very clear. Okay, so the first query is from Bhavya Chaudhary. Bhavya, can you please switch on your mic and ask yourself? Bhavya, first we'll have the query from Bhavya. Okay, Bhavya. Okay, I was not able to...
Hi, Bhavya.
Yeah, Bhavya.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, it was a lovely presentation. Thank you so much. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to ask, can you elaborate a little more about cover letter? Because you mentioned that only a very few people mention or write about it. So can you elaborate?
Bhavya, can you introduce yourself first, that you're in which year and from which institute you are?
Yes, sure. Okay. So I'm currently in my final year. I'm pursuing design from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And I got to know about this presentation from my mother. She's a teacher in university, Kurukshetra University, Nirmala Chaudhary. Yeah. So it was a lovely presentation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for this. I mean, thank you. You're very kind to say it was lovely. I actually was working till last night, so I made this up in an hour. So I was hoping everybody at least doesn't find flaws with it. But thank you. So cover letters are very, very important because this is a sort of a foreign concept. The Desis don't seem to know about it, right? The Desis think writing your CV, jahan pe maine gold medal liya hai, is a great deal. It's not. Because there are a lot of people who are basically shaping different skills and not getting that gold medal, but probably getting the first class with distinction and still have done 500 other things that goes into a cover letter. So what I would say is your CV is like a snapshot of you, okay? And your cover letter is like giving them the key to the door as to what is a glimpse of you in the job. So you are going to apply for different jobs. You're going to have a very generic CV for many jobs, right? So if you're in NID, National Institute of Design, you will be asked to, I don't know, design a creative space for open work like Google, like the Google Hangouts. I mean, like the Google Workspace, right? Now we have all these little what do you say, you have little incubator boxes for everybody now, little shelving boxes. You want a more open space. So now I say, Bhavya, can you design this for me? And your CV is going to still have the element that you're the designer, but your cover letter is going to tell me that I love working for new concepts, I love giving deliverables, and your cover letter is that key to provide that if I got this job, what would I do in a nutshell? What is your previous experience in kind of doing a similar job to start with, then giving a paragraph about what you would do if you got this job, and then telling them in the end that you did research on this company and you're very happy to know about what they have done in their job. So these are three key paragraphs. So what goes in a cover letter is your past and how it reflects your present if you got this opportunity, and the past and the present of the company which inspired you to apply for them. So it's like a little key that you give them that, here it is. Agar aap mujhe job doge to aapko ye milega. Like that advertisement. So that's your cover letter.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks.
I can give you tips about the cover letter also. I can share all of this with you. I can give you a brief, but Google does a lot of these things, but I just gave you a brief, but we can give you more tips on it eventually. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I kind of understood what you wanted to say. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
So can we have the next question now? Naveen Soni, you may ask your question, please. Naveen Soni, are you there? So if
Yes,
Naveen,
good morning.
yeah,
Good morning, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, please share the network you was talking about that you see shape.
Again, Naveen,
resume or-
I'll be grateful if you could please introduce yourself first and then ask the question.
Ma'am, myself Naveen Soni. I'm a master student from Department of Biochemistry, Central University of Haryana.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Hi,
you
Naveen.
were talking about the network. What was that? Bright and something.
Bright Pointers. I put that down. It's a small company that we are running. It's on LinkedIn. We do share a lot of resources, so you can go and follow this page on LinkedIn. It's called Bright Pointers on LinkedIn. If you just search for this, so there is all these little layouts that I gave you is something we made for everybody out there. It's for free. You can go and use these little checklists when you write your CV or your cover letter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Naveen. We move on to the next question, which is by Shiny Deepak. So, Shiny Deepak, you can ask your question now, please. Shiny Deepak, are you there? Are you listening?
Is he shy? Does he want me to start addressing that?
Yeah. So I don't know. She's not there, Shiny Deepak. Yeah.
Is it a she or a he? I don't know.
No, it is he because I saw her profile pic. Jyoti Mehta, please ask your question. Jyoti Mehta, are they not able to hear me or what? Jyoti Mehta, are you there? Jyoti Mehta is there, but she's not listening to me. Like Jyoti is there.
Oh, there's so much background noise here.
Well, so we'll take you Jyoti's question. At least she'll be able to hear you. So she says that how to start a conversation, because I think it's the most difficult and important thing for connection. think
Okay,
for.
before that, I don't want to be rude to Shiny also because I think that person could be shy from coming. So I want to answer both the questions if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please. Hello? Anjali, your mic is mute. Your mic is muted. Anjali, your mic is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I would like to address the questions. Shiny, so why is it that people are shy? You know that the most smartest people are actually the quiet ones because the people who talk a lot always end up blabbering all the ideas. They say that the CEOs of companies always wait for that one sentence from the shy people. Um, the only way to overcome shyness is by personality development. Take small steps. The next time you meet someone new, this is a great step that you did. You asked this question. That is a start. You're communicating with me, saying, "Please speak. I can hear you." All that is great signs. Now, the next time you see someone, start verbally communicating with them. So the next time you see someone, don't shy away from saying, "Hello, I'm Shiny Deepak, and this is what I do. Can I know what you do?" I'm sorry, I missed all your chat messages because I got
Yeah,
disconnected.
Shiny, what do you do? Hello, Shiny, can you type in the chat window? What do you do? No, she's not. Yeah.
Okay, so if Shiny is doing her engineering in biotechnology, then Shiny can just say that, "Hi, I'm Shiny Deepak. I'm doing my final year engineering in biotechnology," where she meets a stranger in a social event, and there's nothing scary about it. And every time you always are going to take oh, you're a lecturer, brilliant. So you always talk to people on an everyday basis. So I don't know how you're shy. But anyway, so just think about talking to
Ma'am, can
people
you hear
as,
me? Ma'am,
yes, yes,
can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, ma'am, there is a lot of connection problems. That's why I'm not coming in the video or audio.
No,
The thing
that's
is,
okay.
ma'am, hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I meant to ask you the shyness while we do a new thing, that is presenting ourselves not on a regular basis. I take classes regularly while doing it a special thing like a conference or doing a webinar like what you're doing. That's what I meant,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I mean, do you think I'm not scared? I am like freaking out.
No, no, no,
Every
no, no, ma'am, you're
everybody
quite
is,
confident.
yeah. I mean, it's all there. You probably think people are not nervous. Everybody is nervous. Trust me, there is no single person who's not nervous. And
Yeah.
people say a lot of things about shyness, right? People say, imagine a room full of naked people and you'll not be shy. I don't recommend these things because I get distracted if I start imagining people naked. But what I would suggest is the first 5 seconds are going to be hard. Anyway, the hardest. It's as long as you step on that podium in for a conference. It's as long as you want to say hello. So I want to give you a beautiful example. So the one time my boss had told me the story that in 1967, you know, the time where they had those little transparency sheets for presenting. I don't know, I wasn't born then, obviously, but you know, those presentation thing, you used to have a glass thing and they used to write in sketch pen and all. They used to present slides like that. There was no PowerPoint and all that. So in a conference, something like that was going on, and a very big speaker spoke, and his slides flew. So it was a big deal. Now, after that talk, the second person came in, and she was very, very shy, right? And she was not able to get attention of anybody because everybody was talking about how his slides flew and how it was a big deal, and you know, all this. So what she did was she had an apple, a red apple. She had red lipstick on. She just went up into the podium and she bit her apple. She had red lipstick on, and that she was shy. She didn't say a word, but she got the attention of everybody. And that is an art of confidence. Now, I'm not saying carry a red lipstick or bite an apple, but I'm saying it's simple things like that. So the first 5 seconds in any podium is going to be hard. Just walk. I think I would recommend when you walk up to anybody or when you do anything new, just standing in a more elevated fashion creates that confidence within you. You're already in an element then, because you feel higher, right? When you feel higher here, you try to feel higher here, and then automatically you feel confident. And once you start feeling confident, the next steps are going to be easy. Like the first step is always the hardest, just like a baby step.
Thank
Yes,
you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We can take,
Dr. Anjali,
we can take Jyoti Mehta's question now.
Yeah,
How
I think
to-
Srinath is trying to say something.
Okay, yeah, Srinath.
no, I just want to add a point in this. I just want to share my personal experience. Like whenever I feel some tense during presentation or some nervous, what I do is actually to interact with the audience so that I'll be stable for some time, and then I can go ahead without any distractions. That is what I feel. I just want to give a suggestion for myself because that pretty works well. Yeah. This is the only suggestion. Yes.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure like everybody has their own methods. Like for me, I'm scared to interact with the audience in my first 5 minutes, for example. I'm very different because I feel if the audience doesn't respond back to me, then it's clear cut, it's not working. Sometimes you can get
That's
very,
it.
like, this audience is very, very interactive. So it's brilliant to have this. And I mean, everybody has different mantras for taking away their shyness. And everybody has to explore different elements before they find that one thing. So just keep trying, I think. I mean, what will happen in the worst case is you will fail. A few people will laugh at you. And when you go to a conference, how many people are you going to realistically meet again? And even if they laugh at you, you become famous, which is a great deal because they're going to contact you. So either way, it's a win-win situation. So I don't know what you're feeling shy about. So it's always great if you make a fool. When I was demonstrating for my students, I know you guys didn't see me stand up, but Anurekha ji will tell you I'm very, very tiny. So when I went to demonstrate, I was the same age as my students because obviously in India we finished our education. So when I was demonstrating, I was the similar age as that group of students. And when I entered, there was a pile of water. And I had gone prepared for my lecture. I didn't see the pile of water. I fell on my face in my first lecture. Like I went, I fell. And then I started lecturing. So everybody was laughing at me for the first 5 minutes. They were laughing at me like crazy. I was also young and they were like, are you a lab partner? Because you don't look like a lecturer anyway. 5 minutes later, they laughed. I laughed with them. Also, I was hurting. So I was like, can you stop laughing and somebody give me ice? But then I think eventually they remembered me for the rest of the year because they were like, that's the demonstrator who fell down. And they still talk to me. They don't talk to the other demonstrators who were cool and who walked without falling down. So, I mean, sometimes failures can still be a way people remember you. Don't be shy from failing or from having a bad experiences because they are the biggest lessons. So I think take baby steps in fighting your shyness. So we are going to go to Jyoti's question, right? Sorry, we'll go to Jyoti's question and then Himanshu's question.
No, Sunab also wants to ask a question.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed the previous chat. So Anurekha ji, can you please
Yeah,
copy
so
paste
I'll just tell you Jyoti Mehta's question. Jyoti Mehta asked how to start a conversation because I think it is the most difficult and important thing for connection. Do you think you have answered this query by saying about shyness and all? No.
No, so I think so you connect with people either on LinkedIn or in a conference. And I always think people, I'm not a narcissistic person. I'm not self-obsessed. But somewhere down the line, all humans are selfish, right? You like to listen to a little bit about yourself. So I think the best way to communicate with someone is write a sentence research about them before you talk to them clearly. Write a sentence about what you liked in their profile if you're talking about their LinkedIn. If you're talking about meeting them in a conference, say you love the paper on this. If you don't have the time to look them up when you go in front of them, always Google a little bit about them. So at least you know the area in which you are working or their top one paper. Read the abstract and tell them why you think it's exciting. So talk about their work, talk about something that excited you in their profile, or talk about something their company does that you're very, very excited about. So these are the three things that one of these three things you should be happy about, because otherwise there's no point talking to them. Either they should impress you, either the company they work for should impress you, or their academic history or their publications. Something should be of interest to you. So use that as a ladder to start the conversation. I hope this answers your question.
Jyoti, I think so. It answers your question. Sunab, now you can ask your query, please. Sunap, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for your interactive session. Thanks a lot. So I would like to first introduce myself. I'm Sunab Garg, and I've just completed my MSc in microbiology from Kurukshetra University itself. And I have been working as a content writer for past 2.5 years, I guess. So this year I tried to like shift a little, inculcate a little bit of transition, and I wrote a novel for a client, but I also uploaded it on a platform. If you have heard of it, it's Wattpad.
No, I mean, but
It's
I'm not the
Wattpad.
smartest person in content creation, so it's absolutely fine. I haven't heard of it. I'm sorry.
No. I was asking you. I was just emphasizing upon your one of your point, which is creating linkage like between how do you create your own brand image. Like if I'm writing a novel, how do I promote it? Do I need to actually buy the premium memberships of the websites in order to promote my book, or like I can follow like some other motive in order to like if I want to promote others, because I've got very good reviews on the book that I've wrote. Currently I have pretty good views on it, but I would like to like promote it more. So how do I
Okay.
continue with that?
So first of all, congratulations on the book. Great stuff there.
Thanks a lot,
I
ma'am.
mean, I couldn't imagine to write a novel. My PhD thesis was enough drama for me. But I'm so happy that somebody out here is a writer too, because I love writing and I know how much effort it takes in writing. So you should definitely go ahead and promote it. And marketing is a whole new topic and we can talk about it at length. Please email me. I'll leave my email later. But I would like you to talk about your book on a platform called Medium. Medium is something that's watched over a space from all over the world. So if you have content that is lovely, share it on LinkedIn, share your space on LinkedIn, right? And always, you don't have to have premium memberships on LinkedIn. For content creators, there is freelancer.com. There is, for example, there's bookdepository.com where they showcase new writers. So you can go to Book Depository where people buy their books from. You can go there and write a little bit about yourself and your book, and you can ask somebody to review it for you. So when they say new writers, your forum can come up. So there are forums like that. There are content forums like that. There are places like Medium where people write about anything and everything under the sun. So if you write well, please join that forum and then talk about your book, because people are always looking for credibility. They won't read you unless they believe you're a good author, right? I mean, before I read 200 pages of what you have written, I should like 2 pages of what you have written. So make yourself a very successful content writer. And I'm sure you are a successful content writer, but try to build that influencer pad a little bit stronger. Make your followers your fans. And then once they start loving everything you share, that's when you try showcasing your novel as well. It's baby steps, but it's also, I would recommend to be consistent all the time. So advertise on different platforms, talk about it, write little notes from your book, write little percepts from your book, interesting elements from it, put it up on Instagram. So there are different ways of marketing, and I think I touched base about some of them, but we can definitely talk about it at length. I hope this answers your question. Due to time restriction, I'm not elaborating too much.
Yeah, ma'am. You greatly presented some of the great insight that I can use to promote my book. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Anjali, there is a query from Himanshu Jain. He is in the second semester of, he has completed second semester of MSc Microbiology, and he says that how can we write effective CV, like from the freshest point of view. So what should the CV contain, effective CV? And please do tell them about the difference between a CV, a resume, and a biodata.
Yeah, so I don't know what is a biodata myself. I thought that's what people write for marriage matrimonial sites. So I have not heard biodata covered until my parents mentioned it to me that they got each other's biodata. So that's my only memory of what is a biodata. So I'm hoping that word is not used in anymore. CV is your curriculum vitae and resume, and both of them essentially mean the same thing. There's no massive difference between the two. They can be used interchangeably. But how to write an effective CV is a whole session. And I think it will take 1 hour to talk about it at depth. I think we have given a lovely little checklist on what you can do in your CV. How to write effective CV is, firstly, as a fresher, I would recommend a simple exercise, right? It's when you're in the final year, right? You have 500 things to do of any course. You forget about what you did in your first year and your second year and your third year. So what I would say is sit down for 50. It takes at least a week to write a good CV. Okay, don't undermine the time. To write a kick-ass CV, it takes a long time. So I would recommend you to sit down for 15-20 minutes every day. Take a notepad and write about every cool thing you have done since year one. Whatever cool things you've done, start writing them down. They could end up being 10 pages, 12 pages, 13 pages. So now you have a full little snap. You have a full detailed concept of who you are. From that, pick up points that you want to put in your CV, because then you're not forgetting anything, right? So start from there, spend 15-20 minutes every day on that. Make a big document about what you think about yourself. What are the cool things you've done? What are the uncool things you've done? Everything. So even if something doesn't go in your CV, it will help you answer a question in your interview. So having that little notebook about yourself is very, very important, because it will either help you in a CV, it will help you either in your LinkedIn conversations, or it's going to help you for an interview. Because if somebody asks you what was the most toughest time in your life, even something from your notebook can answer that question. So start taking notes. And when you write a good and effective CV, always be concise, always talk in numbers, always talk in matrices, and always write short bullet points. Nobody wants to read about 500 words to know you. They just want to know who are you and whether you can do the job. You could be a great person, but that is who they want to see if they want to be your friend. They don't care if they want to be your colleague or they want to see you at work. They just want to see whether you can do the job and whether you have the profile and the ability for it. That's all. They don't care about the rest of you. So make it very crisp and make it very short and sweet.
Yeah, so Anjali, in continuation to this, Naveen Soni wants to know which thing would you like to read first if someone sends you a resume, skill part or education part?
So I'm not a recruiter, so my preferences of what I would like to read, I don't think matters much. But from what I've heard from people, and I read a lot of Google articles on this, so I believe that people like to see the skills first, because sometimes people are switching jobs. So they may not have the education that matches with the job requirement, but they might have developed the skills along the way for that same requirement. So if you are a student and you still have the skills for the job, always put your skills first, because your skills is what is going to get the job done. Your education is only going to add to the fact that acha theek hai, they graduated from this university, fantastic. So now they confirm that your skills are genuine.
Yeah, any more queries?
I think we can overcome the fear of facing the crowd.
Okay, yeah. I didn't see that. Oh, sorry. So, Mehak Mittal, Mehak, you want to ask the question yourself? Mehak, are you there? Mehak Mittal is a PhD student. Yeah. Mehak, are you there? Okay. So, Mehak's question is, ma'am, I want to ask that how can we overcome the fear of crowd or stage phobia? We kill our curiosity due to insecurities and fear of getting insulted. So, how to build confidence to speak? Mehak is not there. Okay.
So I think I answered parts. I think I've insulted myself throughout the webinar, and I've talked about a lot of my failures during the whole journey. And I mean, what is the worst thing that could happen when you fail is what I want to say, that the phobia is not about facing the crowd. The actual phobia that exists in people is the fear of failure, right? And I want you to remember, I want everybody to remember that it is very hard, but try to live like a baby. So when a baby falls, it cries only when you say, "Are tumko laga kya?" If you're smiling, the baby doesn't realize that you fell down, right? And the baby always tries to, it falls down and it tries to get up again and do the same thing. It could be highly stupid. It could be, putting spit out of its mouth, but it is trying to do the same thing again. And this is, have that baby concept, be curious all the time. I'm not saying put spit out of your mouth, obviously, please don't do that in public. But what I'm saying is, like, if you think you're going to fail, think about the consequences. What is the worst thing? So I think eventually everybody has to try to remember the fear of failure first, There is nothing called stage phobia. What everybody is fearing is the failure of performing badly on stage. And I mean, I came to this webinar and I'm sure about 57 people are here right now. 69 people were attending at some point. Some of you left. We will see the Google Forms in the end. I mean, some people might have hated the seminar. It's okay. Always go with the concept that if one person liked this seminar and if one person took one idea from you and it helped them along the way, then that's enough. You cannot inspire 500 people on the single day at the same time. So when you go on stage, remember that some people are not going to like it, and it's absolutely okay. Some people are going to laugh at you. Some people are going to think you're silent, you don't know how to speak. It's fine. It's all relative. You need to have stupid people in the world to call someone intelligent. Intelligence is relative, and so is confidence. You need to have people who are underconfident to be relative to say somebody X is confident, right? If you spoke to I don't know, if you spoke to an Apple CEO, had a presentation before this, then a Google CEO presented, and then I would present, you would think I'm not confident at all. So in comparison to them. So it is always relative. So don't think that you're not confident or you're the worst person in the room, because it's all relative. And even if you are the stupidest person in the room, be very proud about it, because you can only improve because you're already at your worst. And the second thing is, if you're really, really stupid, then it's a great thing because you're the pedestal for smart people. It's from you that intelligent people think they're intelligent. So if you didn't exist, intelligent people wouldn't be called intelligent. Everybody has a place in the world. So don't be scared to address it. It's okay to ask stupid questions. It's okay to face your insecurities. I would like to tell you one thing, that stop being scared of failing. That's the only thing I'll try to tell you. And as you grow older, it becomes easier. I think personally for me, it became easier. In my early 20s, it was very, very difficult for me because I was, doing great. Then I entered my PhD very, very early in my 20s. And then I was like, oh, boom, failure. So initially, it took me 3 or 6 months to realize that failing is normal. And then failing became a part of life and you only learn from it. So stage phobia, shyness, insecurities, they are all fear of failing in the end. It's a deep rooted problem of fear of failure. So once you take that out, everything else just vanishes.
So Jitesh Bansal has a query. So what did he say? Jitesh Bansal, do you want to ask something? Jitesh.
Okay, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I mean, unless you're annoying, I won't disconnect. I'm okay with new connections. I'm okay with answering questions. Unless you're doing something to threaten my life or you're flirting unnecessarily, I'm not going to disconnect with you. We can have healthy conversations. I don't mind that at all. I don't write doctor anywhere. Sorry. I write only Anjali Pai on LinkedIn, and I work at Jove. So you might find me like that. You can connect with me on my email. If you want anything on CV, we do services as well for people who think they cannot write a good CV or cover letters. We do services. So if you visit brightpointers.com, you will see a list of services. If you have any queries on that, I think you can email this email ID.
Okay, so Naveen Soni says, sorry to interrupt you.
No. So obviously, I mean, if somebody is writing a cover letter and CV for free, please tell me their name and address because I'd be very happy. It takes a lot of time to do this. So I said the resources to make a good CV, like, I showed you those little templates, right? The resume checklist, the CV checklist. Like this, we have the cover letter checklist. We have little notes every Wednesday and Sunday that comes up. We have little posts. These posts on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, Bright Pointers post certain resources, and that's for free. The resources are for free. Sorry, not brightpointers.com. It's just Bright Pointers. But if you go on the website and you want to get a service, if you want to get a good CV written for yourself, then that is a service-based platform. So that is not for free. To make a personalized, tailor-made resume, there are 5 people who are highly qualified sitting there running that company, so we have to pay them. And I mean, we do some free sessions here and there. So when we started, we did about 75 free LinkedIn reviews. So if you commented, it was, you would get your LinkedIn reviewed for free. So yeah, so we do a lot of free sessions. I personally do a lot of free sessions, and I try to help as many people as possible. But there are 4 others there. There are some of the people there who don't have jobs. So this is also a way in which we can create jobs. So all the money goes to people who work for the company. So I think if the quality is very, very high. So if you want to charge for the services, yes. But if you're going on LinkedIn, following Bright Pointers and using the checklist, you download it, that's for free. Those resources are for free. Oh, thank you. I mean, that's the least I could do. So
no, Anjali, this is a very big thing. They should know that the time that you have given, you are not charging anything out of it, and this you are doing for the love of the students of any university. You would have done for any university that I know very well, and you are doing because for the students, for the benefit of the students. So this is a big thing. So any more queries? If not, then we have to wind up the session. So presuming
Hello,
that
ma'am.
there are no more queries.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Harsha, please.
Yeah. So I'm Harsh Bhardwaj. I'm pursuing my master's in chemistry from Department of Chemistry, KUK. So here's my small question. Okay, ma'am, I'm really passionate about reading, and I don't think many people, see reading as a passion. Or so I'm working on a startup with it. We are a team of 4. So I want to ask is how important is it to link your personal identity with your organization's identity?
yeah, I was just thinking that, because even this is new for me, right? So I was like, oh shit, I just said that I'm linked to Bright Pointers. Maybe let's keep it shush. It is important and it is not, right? So I am battling this question myself, because I mean, I don't have that many years of experiences, Harsh. So I'm sorry, I may not be answering this question. Out of personal experience, I will say that when we are doing our services, I would say keep yourself anonymous. So I think of you as a team I care about. So that is why I gave you my identity. If I'm working professionally, I don't give my identity via my company. Or it's not just me. There are so many more people associated with it. It is not my company. I don't like the word my or I. It is our company. So 5 of us stood up there and built it together, and we're still building it. It's a very, very, very small startup. It is not even a startup in this case. But we started it during the lockdown because we realized how many people want this resource, because a lot of people had lost their jobs and a lot of people are making very, very bad CVs. Trust me, those CVs, people with 20 years experiences are making such pathetic CVs that I'm like, how did they have a job till now? So the point is that, yeah, I mean, it's really bad. I don't know how people survive in the job market. This is why freshers don't get jobs, because those people are still there. But anyway, stopping my anger there, I think it's a garam pani ka ghoot. वो पीना भी पड़ेगा या तो थू करना पड़ेगा. It's like that. So you need to be anonymous in some places. So in a forum like this, you would want validity. So now I spoke to you, so you know I'm a real person. Maybe you liked me. So based on this, you might connect to the platform. Maybe you won't connect to the platform, but you'll remember me that I spoke about this, and there's some sort of connection game there. So if you're going and presenting yourself to a crowd, then talk about it where they connect to you, because then that gives them a sense of validation that I liked his presentation, so his company must be real. But if you're working as a company on a professional platform, always keep yourself anonymous, because that can cause a lot of problems later. I hope that
ma'am,
answers
thanks
your
for the
question.
valuable session. I mean, yeah, I got an idea. Okay, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any more queries? So now I have to do the like, it is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks to, first of all, Anjali, and then maybe on behalf of all, not maybe, on behalf of the entire Kotak team and all the coordinators, to Dr. Srinath. So a few lines about Anjali. Like, Anjali, to be very frank, do you remember the first day we met? Do you
Yeah.
remember this night? Okay, so I met Anjali in Ireland in 2014, and that was a local TED talk that we used to have there, and I enjoyed all the sessions. And on that dark and rainy night, we went to the that was an auditorium. I don't remember the name of the auditorium, and we were like me and Minakshi, we were supposed to be the judges or we were supposed to be the moderators. I don't remember what was the exact term given to that.
Yeah.
And that was
And I was a student like all these people
yeah,
sitting
no,
there.
no. And that was done looking to the age, because I could not be the audience, so they made me the judge.
I think it's also experience. Let it say, like there were not many experienced people in that room, so I
Yeah.
think we have to give credit
So,
to your
so,
experience.
and I met, and then when I was to speak, now also I fumble a lot when I have to speak. And that time also when I heard Anjali speaking, I thought, ये क्या कर दिया, मुझे कैसे moderator बना दिया, ये लड़की तो इतना अच्छा बोलती है. And you were sitting just in front of me, and I asked you that what is your name, and that is how we started. And then I was thoroughly like filled with admiration for her confidence, for her command on the language, the communicator that she was, and the way she used to rip apart everyone. You used to have queries, Anjali, and we are meeting virtually after 5 years, because after coming back from Ireland, we could not meet in person. And Anjali has been very, very kind. So kind of you, Anjali, to have agree within 1 minute and say that I'm going to have a free session. Thank you so much, and it has been very useful session. And I can see that Nitin also attended the entire session. So next time Nitin is going to have a session, and that will be more technical session towards startups and other things only. But that session will hold only if people are interested, because I'm seeing that when you have free webinars, I'm seeing that people take it for granted. I'm very sorry to say that many of our students also take it for granted that it is a free webinar. Okay, fine. So thanks, Anjali. Thanks for your time, and it has been very useful. And I also got many cues that where I have to improve and how my resume should look like. Thank you so much. And today also, let me confess that I feel intimidated by your communication skills. I don't have such good communication skills. I am always at loss of words, what to say and what not to say. So thank you.
That's very big of you to say that.
No, I think so. One should know one's weaknesses. So thank you so much. And secondly, I would like to thank Srinath. Srinath has been a strong support for all the activities of Kutik. And also he has been at the receiving end from me whenever something used to go wrong, because I used to expect a lot from him. And Srinath, it was never personal. It was in professional capacity that I did that. So, and I hope so you'll be able to forgive me for that. If I've been harsh, yes, I've been harsh a lot of times. Yeah, so I'm saying it publicly. So I've been harsh many times, and that was totally professionally. It had got nothing to do with your personal competence. It had nothing to do with your professional competence. That was just at the spur of the moment that things are not happening. I'm panicking and things like that. So that's what happens. But thanks a lot for being strength. And I know that there are many students who would like to thank Srinath. So on behalf of all the coordinators, I would like to thank Srinath. And secondly, thank you, Shruti. Shruti is not there. Shruti and the team, I don't know whosoever was involved in making the poster, etc. There are many. So Anjali, this Kutik would not have been what it is without the student coordinators. So our strength is the student coordinators. So we have got coordinators from each and every program, like from chemistry, from biotechnology. Harsh is one of the student coordinator. Then Mehak was one of the student coordinators. So this Kutik has run because of student coordinators being very active. So be active like this, student coordinators. And also I would like to thank all the members of Kutik who spared their valuable time, Dr. Hardeep Anand, Dr. Ashwini Mittal, Dr. Rita, who were present there and who always are present to give me a supporting hand. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks, Anjali. See you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Should we take leave of you, Srinath? So Srinath,
I just want to speak to you a few words.
It was really very nice talk.
Yeah, Rita, what are you saying?
Ma'am, I'm saying this was really very nice talk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anjali ji.
Anjali,
Oh, thank you, Rita ji.
So next time Srinath will be conducting a webinar from IIT Gandhinagar.
Definitely, ma'am.
Yeah,
I
that
just
would
want
be
to
very
speak.
much good.
I just want to tell a few words. Like the thing is, like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful words about me, ma'am. I'm overwhelmed. Ma'am. Then I appreciate the time you spend on me, mentoring me, and helping me to grow my skills. Thanks a lot for that. And definitely, I should say extremely sorry for you, but the times I've irritated you. Extremely sorry for that. I also thank the PhD members of Kutik for their unconditional support. I'm proud to work with such a wonderful team full of so ambitious people. I've learned a lot from them. Like, thanks a lot. And last but not least, I should thank especially the student coordinators who been supporting me all the time during the stay. Thanks a lot, everyone. But I would like to give a point to the student coordinators. The reason is like Kutik is working 24/7 for you people. I'm telling you 24/7. See, an entire Kutik community, only I being paid, not any faculty being paid, I'm telling you. They have been working for you, they're taking their own time and they're spending their own time and for you. So try to utilize the opportunities, whatever the Kutik is proposing. And I wish you all the very best. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks everyone. So it's time to have a good lunch. So
Yeah,
we are doing something. Thank you, Anjali. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Nitin,
Thank you,
thanks.
guys. You can contact me if you want, and I'll definitely get in touch if you need any more information. I'll try to give you as many free resources as possible. I'll send the presentation to your Cook IC email, so you can share it with the students. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Srinath.
Cheers.
So cheers.
Okay.
Take care of you. Yeah. So we call it off.
Bye. Take care and stay safe,
Okay,
everyone.
bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.